Hello, this is Lindsay Sneller from 4 Weeks Fit and the Plant Based Power Couple, and today we are going to talk about mindful or intuitive eating. And I think this is something that isn't discussed enough. We don't really think about our mindset when it comes to food and fueling our bodies. So, what I want to talk about this really is not about being on a diet or restricting ourselves of things or labeling foods, depriving ourselves, giving ourselves rules around food. What I like to focus on is fueling the body, nourishing the body, giving the body the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that it wants and needs, and really just changing our mindset around how we view food. I think it can be really, really easy to just eat without thinking. And a lot of people tend to do that. And for me, when I really started learning about this, focusing on this, really paying attention to what I was putting in my body, that is when my journey of following a plant-based diet began. Because when I really started to connect myself with the food that I was eating, when I really put thought into how the food got onto my plate and the process that it had to go through and what I was actually putting into my mouth and putting into my body, it just really, it made me aware of it, and it made me not want to eat anything animal based. That kind of is what spurred my whole decision to follow a plant-based diet. So, maybe that's something that you want to consider. Of course, I don't push that on anyone. I will be happy to share with you the benefits that I've received from following a plant-based diet and really walk you through that. If that's something that you would like to try, even just on a small scale, just reach out, let me know. But that is really how that journey began, because I really started to think about the food that I was putting into my body and how it got there and the process that it had to go through, and really started to connect myself with that instead of disconnecting and just eating and putting it into my body. And I think all too often we do that. We disconnect. We don't want to think about what's in it. We don't think about what's in it. And when we do, we try and I don't really want to think about that. And then we just eat it. And, if we're putting something into our bodies, I think we should really be mindful of what we're putting into our bodies and why we're putting it in there. So these are my tips, or just my advice to start focusing and being a little more mindful and intuitive when we're eating. So first one, begin viewing food as fuel and as nourishment. So instead of just thinking about it's just something that we do to sustain or to get rid of hunger, view it as actually fueling our bodies, nourishing ourselves, serving us on a nutrient level. Because when you do that, you likely won't want to eat the things that aren't serving you on that level. So just really start to have that mindset of why are you eating? I think we have really gotten to a point in our society where we've really attached food to a lot of emotional things, and we've also really attached food to social things. So because of that, we tend to think that food can serve our emotions or make us happy or sad or, fulfill things that it really isn't meant to fulfill. Really, if you break it down and you go back to basics, food is meant to fuel and nourish our body, and that's it. So if we view food as that, then we will start to make changes as to what we are putting into our bodies. The second thing is, I encourage you to really start paying attention to your body, listening to it, and really realizing the cues that it's giving you. Our bodies are constantly talking to us, constantly. and telling us, like trying to tell us things. So if we start to really pay attention to them and listen to the things that our bodies are saying, we can start to make better decisions around food. So what do I mean by that? The first very simple one is, as you are eating food, pay attention to when your body feels full. All too often, we can kind of mindlessly eat and eat beyond being satiated to being like stuffed. And I think a lot of people will get to a point where their bodies are just so used to feeling so full and stuffed that we don't even know what it's like to just be satiated. And feel like content, like I don't need to eat anymore. So instead of waiting until you're like stuffed to a point of being uncomfortable, can you just stop eating when your body feels satiated and full? Like, I'm not hungry anymore, I don't need to eat anymore. The other thing is listen to your body and how you feel after you eat certain foods. And this was something that really took me a while to pay attention to. It wasn't until I felt better that I really started to realize certain foods always made me feel not good. And I ate it regardless. It didn't even matter that it didn't make me feel good. I kept eating it. And once I started really fueling my body properly and feeling good, then I started to realize, that doesn't make my body feel good, so I don't really want to eat that. And that was one thing for me. I realized early on, dairy was one of those things that just didn't make my body feel good. It caused a lot of issues in my body that just I didn't want to deal with anymore. Gluten was another one, and gluten is just something that it literally does not make my body feel good. I feel really bloated when I eat it. I get stomach cramps and horrible gas for days. It's just not worth it for me anymore. So I just choose not to eat it because I like my body to feel good. So really listen to your body and what your body is trying to tell you. All too often, I think that we have kind of gotten to a point where we want to remedy things with medicine that can easily be remedied by just not eating certain foods. Things like heartburn, indigestion, stomach aches, our bowels not feeling well, having gas, those sorts of things. Those are our body's way of talking to us and telling us things. Those are our body's way of saying, no, thank you. That doesn't feel good to me. So if you have those certain things, pay attention to when you are having it. What did you eat? Possibly, the meal before or the night before, and start paying attention to that. If you need to, keep a food journal. Start writing down what you're eating so you can kind of notice a pattern as to what makes your body feel good and what doesn't make your body feel good. Because it just really doesn't make sense to put like a medication into our bodies if we can just simply not eat something that's causing that. It can be a lot simpler of a solution. The other thing, stop putting labels on food. So stop labeling something as good for you or bad for you. Stop saying that something is something you should have or shouldn't have. Those create negativity around food. And when there's negativity around food, it makes that's an emotion. We're tying an emotion to food then. I am totally an advocate for making this a lifestyle. A lifestyle is going to include you eating foods you enjoy eating. And sometimes, even if they don't make us feel good, we still enjoy eating them in the process. We're going to still have cocktails sometimes. We're going to still have treats on special occasions. We're going to do those sorts of things. That's totally fine. Stop labeling it as good or bad. Stop making yourself feel good or bad when you're eating it. Don't tie guilt around stuff. If you want to have the birthday cake at a birthday party, then absolutely have that piece of birthday cake. Completely enjoy having that piece of birthday cake. Don't tie any guilt or emotion around that. Just eat it. It's fine. It's totally fine. I really think that we can actually have an effect on how our body feels and how we ingest certain things based on the mindset that we have around it while we're eating it. So if we are telling our bodies that something is bad or not good for us as we're eating it, of course we're probably not going to digest that food as well as we would digest something else. And that goes on the flip side. If you're eating, say you're eating celery and you're just like, oh, I don't want to eat this celery, your body probably isn't going to absorb the good nutrients in that celery as much as if you would say, oh, I'm really, really happy that I'm putting this food into my body because it is serving my body on a nutritional level. So watch your mindset around food and how you label certain things. The next thing, call a truce with your body. What do I mean by that? Literally learn to love your body for what it is. And why do we have to do this? It is really, really hard for us to want to take care of something that we dislike. If we are always telling ourselves things that we dislike about our bodies, it is going to make us not want to take care of our bodies. If we look at our bodies as something that we love, something that we adore, think of your child, your babies, your pets, how well you want to take care of them because you love them. Same thing goes for your body. If you love on your body, you're going to want to nourish your body. You're going to want to take really, really, really good care of your body. So just draw that line in the sand right now. Quit telling yourself you don't like stuff about your body. Quit thinking that you need to diet because you don't like your body. Instead, nourish it because you love it and you honor it. That is going to totally change your mindset around why you're putting good things into your body and make you want to put good things into your body. Don't give food power. Take that power back. What do I mean by that? You can find certainty in other things. When you give food power, when you tell yourself that something can make you feel good in an emotional situation, you are giving food the power to do that. You can have the power to do that with other things. Just know that. So, and figure out what it is that's emotionally triggering you to do certain things. So if you are someone who eats out of boredom, if you are someone who comes home after a hard day and just has to have that glass of wine to unwind, if you are someone who, has to eat out of stress or are wanting to sabotage because you feel yourself struggling, know that you can take back that power and you can feed those emotions with something else. It doesn't have to be done with food. So focus on just I like to tell people, focus on 1 degree of change. That doesn't mean taking away, you can't have, the whole thing altogether, because if you need some way to unwind after a stressful day, you still need to find some way to unwind. Don't take away the whole entire habit. Instead of putting the wine in the wine glass, take the wine glass and put sparkling water in there. Or if you're using Isagenix, put a little Cleanse for Life or Ionix in there. Put something else so you still are engaging in the activity that would help to make you to feel like you're unwinding, but you're not doing something that is going to sabotage your health or your goals. If you are someone that always wants to eat out of boredom, chew some gum instead, go for a walk, read a book, do something else to distract your mind instead of constantly wanting to put something in your mouth. So find something that can still sustain that habit, so it's not completely taking away the habit, it's just changing it a little bit. The other thing, I think we can tend to a lot of times focus on what we don't want to do instead of what we want to do. It's just like we've become really addicted to focusing on what we don't want instead of what we do want. And so what I mean by that is, we can say, I'm not going to eat any chocolate for the next 30 days. So that is you focusing on the negative. And you guys, our minds are so powerful. What we focus on is what tends to, like, we can literally call that into reality. If you're always focused on no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate, no chocolate, you're telling your mind chocolate. You're going to want chocolate. So instead of that, if you say, instead of saying, I'm not going to have chocolate, if you say, I'm going to get all my water in today. That's focusing on something positive. Or I'm going to focus on getting my 6 servings of vegetables in today. That's focusing on something positive instead of something you don't want to do. So just flip it around and just figure out what is it that you want. Focus on that instead of what you don't want. Don't tell yourself you're not going to do something. Tell yourself what you are going to do. And then last but not least, this is about focusing on your health. Make that your focus. Know that that is your main goal to achieve optimal health. Your goal is not to diet. Your goal isn't weight loss. Your goal isn't, to fit into a certain size. Your goal is health. If you surround your mindset around that and have that be your goal, you're always going to make choices that are going to align with that. Instead of having to tell yourself, I can't have this, I can't have that, and focusing on, something else, keep your health the main focus. If you think about that, if you think about, why I'm doing this to make my body healthier, you wouldn't ever make a choice that's not going to serve that purpose. So you're always going to want to make the better choice if that's your focus. Instead of saying, I can't have this, I can't have that, I'm not going to have this, I'm going to, don't call it a diet. That's all negativity. So just focus on your health. Keep that your main focus, and that is going to align you to making the best choices possible. So, this might be, maybe the first time you've ever heard of this concept, intuitive mindful eating. I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. She was talking about her and her boys went and picked cherries off a tree that was in their neighborhood. And she was like, man, I was eating those cherries and I just started thinking about what it took to grow that tree and get it big enough to produce the fruit, and how, the fruit got off the tree and into my body, and it just made me so appreciative for that. And I said, oh my gosh, I love that. That's like intuitive eating. And she was like, is that what it's called? And I was like, yes, it's just like being mindful of how the food got to you and what it is that you're putting into your body. And I think all too often we can just disconnect. So just pay attention to what you're eating, why you're eating it, and really, really just change your mindset around eating. If you have questions about any of this or would like to talk about it further, please reach out. I am here to help.